Good day. I'm here today. I want to compare F-sharp flutes. As you can see, I've got quite a few flutes. I'm a fluteaholic. All flutes are not created equal. Everybody's flute, even from the same maker, I've noticed there are differences. It is best, if you're looking for a flute, to try them. You might try, I have 7 different F-sharps here. You might try 7 different F-sharps and find one that is really talking to you. It reacts the way that you are hoping, or the way that you play a flute. It reacts best to your style, maybe something like that. The first 3 flutes that I have here are made in the style of a plain style flute, meaning the flue, or the wind way, the wind passage between the flute body and the fetish or the bird is in the fetish itself. In a and again, that would be a plain style. The Woodland Style, that's the other one. The flue or airway is in the flute body, and the bottom of the bird or the fetish is completely flat. So you could basically tie a piece of cardboard, flat piece of cardboard on there, and it would still make a sound. On the plain style, you can't do that. You have to have the fetish, you have to have that groove or windway in the fetish itself. So you're a little bit more limited there as to what will work or what could work. I'm just going to get started here. The first one I have here is made from cherry wood. It's one of the first flutes that I made personally. And this it's still one of my favorites. They're all a little bit different. They have different woods used. They will be, which will affect the sound, the tonality, and the way that they're made, constructed, will affect the tonality. So just going through them. So that would be a Brent Adams flute. Everybody knows these, almost everybody knows these. This is a high spirits flute. This one happens to be made of walnut, which I kind of like their walnut flutes. One of my favorite woods that they use. The next one is, it's still a plain style flute, but it's a little bit different. This is a spirit bird flute. And I'm in Oregon. This is made here in Oregon, not too far from me. And he makes the nest, the part of the flute that the fetish sits on is called the nest. He makes that stepped. So he's kind of brought it down slightly where the fetish or bird sits, so that the splitting edge has been actually raised up a little bit for that airflow to hit a little bit more in the middle. That's the idea that he's created behind this. This is Alaskan yellow cedar. Plain style. Now we move to Woodland Style. Most people recognize this. This is a Wood Sounds flute. Brent is the owner of that company. This happens to be an older one that he probably even made himself. And this is an Eastern red cedar. This is some kind of I'm going to say probably a Port Orford cedar, something like that. And I should also back up a little bit. Some of the flutes that I played have a little bit more back pressure, meaning that I can play for a longer period of time before I have to take a breath. I can play use up more air, or I'm not using up more air. The flute uses up less air so that I can play more notes or a longer period of time before I have to take a breath. The wood sounds flutes, I've noticed, for me and my playing style, are a more opened airway, so it almost requires me to take more breaths in between the notes. Just so you know. So I'm trying to kind of play all the same thing, all the flutes. There, you know, I will almost never play exactly the same thing twice, but this one is Blue Pine, another one that I made a little bit later than one of my first ones. Come to another wood sounds flute. This one, instead of the first wood sounds flute that I played being made of cedar, this one's made of cocobolo, very, very hard, dense wood. It definitely affects the tonality quite a bit. Last flute that I pulled to play for you today, Eastern Redcedar. This one is made, it's a Falcon Flute made by Dena Ross, and this is what he calls his standard. Wood Sounds produces a huge array of his standards, or what he calls his classics, and then he has a lot of different custom flutes depending on the types of wood, burled woods, raise the price, fancier fetishes, things like that. This is Dena Ross's standard. So that's basically it. A lot of different sounds. They're all F sharp, all same basic key. Some of the flutes I have learned that I have to back off on my air pressure a little bit for them to play with, if I'm playing with somebody else that's playing an F sharp. For example, if I'm playing high spirits, and I'm playing a wood sounds flute. They're a little off. I have to put more air into the wood sounds flutes because the high spirits flutes seem to be tuned slightly higher in pitch. So you have to be careful if you're playing with someone else, even if it's the same key. Depends on how the maker is making them. The wood sounds flute, I think, is meant to be pushed more. Pushed a little bit harder, more air flowing through it, which raises the pitch up. Hope you have a great day. My favorite flutes, it's hard to say. I use them all. This one has kind of a quieter voice. I use it kind of as a background flute in some yoga classes that I play for example. If I'm playing outdoors, I would grab a flute that's a little bit louder. Dena Ross, this is one of my favorite flutes. Mainly because of the tonality, but also It's got good projection. It's a real crystal clear flute. This is also a little touchier. Both of these are a little touchier on the fundamental note, meaning the lowest note. I have to back off my air pressure a little bit more than I would, for example, on a wood sounds flute or one of my flutes. If I blow too hard, it raises up an octave, so I've got to know my flute. It's not hard to be able to make those differences while you're playing, or as long as you are accustomed to those flutes. With 7 different F-sharp flutes, if I'm playing for a 2-hour, I've played at art shows, for example, where they have many people coming through, and I'm just there kind of doing background music. I have to have a few different F-sharp flutes to be able, even if I'm repeating the same song, because they'll get moisture buildup in virtually any flute, which it'll basically turn them off. It'll affect the sound to the point where they might not be playable, and you don't want to be playing a song in the middle of the song, all of a sudden I can't hit that note. So I will take a few different flutes of the same key for that reason. That's why I have 7 F-sharp flutes. Some perform some songs a little bit better than others, so I try to make sure I have that one ready to go if I'm doing that particular song and I like this particular flute for that song. You will find that some flutes just play some notes a little bit different, especially when you start getting into the upper register notes. You'll find that some flutes play those very easily. Some flutes you've got to make a little bit extra pressure to get some of those higher notes, and they might not make that highest note quite as clear and quite as easily as some other ones. So you'd want to save that flute for the song that needs that kind of a note. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day. See you later.